Invitational side, shows just what potential there is there in that playing group. And clearly they haven't been able to patch up these issues, so the NRL have expelled the Tongan NRL.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what comes out of the remnants in terms of what potential organisation could represent the kind of the players with a Tongan heritage.
Well, we're like 21 months out from a World Cup, 22 months out from a World Cup, where Tonga are going to be involved. So, where does this leave that situation?
I mean, the worst case scenario is they probably continue as an invitational team.
Yeah,
probably.
I would expect some sort of new board is put together, and there's a newly refreshed Tongan Rugby League Association, maybe under a slightly different name, like the Tongan Rugby League Association.
I'm sure no conclusion could reach.
Yeah.
Yes. The Rugby League Association of Tonga, that kind of thing. Yeah. I'm sure they'll sort themselves out. Okay, so the 1895 Cup will welcome 3 community clubs from the National Conference League Premier Division this year. So the NCL champions West Hull will join York, Acorn and Underbank Rangers in the first round draw, which will be held in Cumbria on March 18th. They'll be joined by 5 clubs from League One. All in knowledge that 4 wins would secure a trip to Wembley on July 18th. So those clubs are Barrow, Doncaster, Keighley, Newcastle and Rochdale. As per last year, the 12 championship clubs who have entered the competition are given a bye to the second round, where they'll be joined by the 4 first round winners. So the second round draw will also be held on March 18th. First round ties are scheduled for the weekend of April 18th and 19th, with the 8 second round ties to be played midweek in the week starting April 27th.
Always fun for the part-time players.
Well, there's obviously a story, this midweek thing about why there's only 5 teams from League One and why 6 of them have chosen not to take part.
Yeah.
For me, I'm very disappointed about that. I understand the practicalities about it, but I also understand that these clubs are in a league that only has 20 league fixtures, and you would think that an additional fixture would be something they'd be at least one additional fixture would be something they'd be interested in.
You would also think if it's cost prohibitive, which is what I can think is the only reason why these clubs aren't involved. I think the cost of getting players to give up work during the week to go to games that won't make any profit, to pay them more. If that's the case, surely that's where some of the funding from the sponsorship could be stepped in, and instead of and maybe even consider reducing the prize money, because the prestige here is the day at Wembley, not the prize money for this competition. That's what we've been told anyway, because when it started there was no prize money until a sponsor came on board. Maybe that could have been redirected to kind of encourage more of the clubs to be involved. I mean, we're also going to be missing two of the best 3 clubs in the championship, aren't we, with London and Toulouse not being involved?
Yeah, I mean, you look at teams like, why are Hunslet not taking part? Just looking at, if you're looking at teams that are Heartland teams, it's things like that, and you're like, well, that just doesn't seem to make much sense to me. If a National Conference League team can organise themselves, then I find it very disappointing that it's not been embraced by enough League One teams, to be frank.
Yeah, I agree. It's it's a tournament that we've all been sort of praising. The fact that they've moved the kick-off time to when everyone said it should be is something to praise. They've listened to the feedback, they've acted on it as soon as they could, which was the second year of the running of the competition, when they've been able to talk to the event organisers and those sorts of things, stadium management people, get things sorted for people, and then kind of when teams aren't involved, it puts a negative slant, doesn't it, on something that should have been a positive story, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right, and finally, and I must stress that Carson sent this view in before there was any sort of statement from the Catalan Dragons about this, but Carson got in touch about the issue with Catalan's Dragons stewarding and the showing of the rainbow flags in the stadium over the weekend in the game against Castleford. So Carsten got in touch and said, "Geez, that club is punishing the whole sport. How can't they see the disaster they're making on the PR side? And never ever should somebody mention freedom of speech in this debate because Catalans don't give a shit." Now,
you have some clarification from somebody who was there.
Well, this isn't a news story we would have talked about if Carsten hadn't have put in the thing. We probably just would have mentioned it during the match chat. To be completely honest, now Catalans have come out today and said that, as far as they're aware from their own investigation, one fan was asked to move a flag because they hung it in a section of the stand where they don't allow people to hang flags. In the main stand, the stand at the end, so the tall end stand, normally they allow people to hang flags on those sort of temporary stands that are at the top and bottom end of the sideline that you can see on the television footage, and that's normally where people hang flags, and I think that's where flags were hung during this game. Now, some people have reported that they were asked to remove their flags. I'm not sure if it was a similar basis of that. I understand from people who've been at the game who've said to us about it, Alan, that this statement from the Catalans kind of rings true. People were hanging them either over the advertising boards or over bits of the stand where it kind of would obscure the view of some spectators. So maybe that, maybe there was something missed in the translation of things there. I have not seen any photo of these people that have alleged to have had their flags taken off them without their flags inside the stadium. So I don't believe anyone had their flags taken off them. So I do think there's been at best a miscommunication, at worst a little bit of mischief making here. That's my take on this story. And I'm not gonna we can criticise the Catalan Dragons for signing the hate speaking centre. We can criticise them for choosing to do that, but I don't believe that there's any real criticism in this actual news story. I think there's a storm in a teacup element of this here. We have heard in the past, haven't we, reports of Catalan stewards being heavy-handed, and we know that the away fans that turn up at Catalans are often heavily fueled, let's say. So the two things don't necessarily go well together. So I'm sure there were some conversations and misunderstandings and altercations on that regard. But I don't believe that anyone had their flags taken off them. They were just asked not to hang their flags at parts of the stadium where they don't allow fans to hang flags.
Yeah, it does seem like it was more a misunderstanding than anything else. But obviously there's a hyper level of interest at this particular game, and there will be all year. So it's something that I think we'll continue to look at and see what how it actually plays out in on the ground.
Yeah, I agree. Now it does seem that the RFL don't really accept Catalan's own investigation, while Super League do. So the RFL are launching their own investigation into this. But like I say, I've not seen a single picture of the people without their flags, and the pictures were all inside the stadium. So I'm hoping that it was just misunderstandings at the time, and everyone was able to enjoy the occasion in the end, and wave those rainbow flags and wrap those rainbow flags around themselves in the spirit that they've intended it to do, which is, it's a protest in it to an extent, but more as a demonstration of solidarity with a community that we feel has been kind of disregarded, unfortunately, with what Catalan's Dragons have chosen to do in their recruitment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So keep taking your rainbow flags, but don't hang them over the stand, because clearly they're not supposed to go there. Right. Let's move on to the Super League match reviews. Right, it was round 3 of the Super League this week. Average attendance was 8,537. We did have a few 10,000 pluses in there, so that's positive. A couple, 3, so that's good. We start as we almost always do, because I was going to say always do, but we won't be doing next week. But we start this week, as we mostly do, which is on Thursday night, where it was the Wigan Warriors welcoming for the first time to the DW Stadium the Toronto Wolfpack. It was 10-4 to Wigan at half-time. It finished 32-10 to Wigan in front of an attendance of 10,333. Chris Kendall, the man for the Thursday night, it seems. He's done every Thursday night so far this season, was the referee.
He likes a free weekend, obviously.
Obviously, yeah, he's made that request, hasn't he? He had Valentine's plans when the rest of them didn't, I think. In terms of the teams, Wigan actually had fewer carries in this game, but made more metres and a 1.2 metres per carry better average gain. Toronto were offload happy, 23 to Wigan's 8, but also made more errors and made only one clean break in the game compared to Wigan's 11. In terms of the individuals, Jackson Hastings, 4 try assists, 5 tackle busts, 145 metres, 2 clean breaks. He's certainly finding his feet in cherry and white. Joe Burgess, 1 try and 142 metres. Bevan French, the excitement machine, 2 tries, 7 tackle busts, 118 metres and 3 clean breaks. And Liam Farrell, I love Liam Farrell, 2 tries, 1 try assist, 8 tackle busts, 106 metres, 3 clean breaks. What a hero. In terms of the Toronto Wolfpack, they had some good performers too. Ricky Latelli continues to impress in his early days in Super League. 1 try assist, 134 metres, 3 successful offloads. Hakim Maludi, 107 metres and 8 offloads. Brad Singleton, 53 tackles, 14 of which were marker tackles. That's a big effort from him. And similarly, Andrew Dixon, 42 tackles, 10 of which were marker tackles, made a big shift in defence.
Yep, as usual, Thursday night, lots of fan views. Paul O'Brien with the first one saying, a very scrappy game from both teams. Wigan deserved the win and Toronto looks shattered. It's going to be a tough year for the Wolfpack.
Carson will be gutted that Paul got in there in front of him. Said, Toronto losing players like Germany loses wars. Macron with a shit kicking game, a wonderful hit by Willie Isa, Hastings moaning about the ref, Locker's getting slapped by a French, and the other French slicing through defences like a hot knife through butter. I'm really worried about the squad Wolfpack can name next week.
Sydney Kidney says Toronto going down quicker than Katie Hopkins in a country lane.
I don't think that was the real Sydney, because he definitely wouldn't be listening when I'm having a cold. Josh said, Toronto are going to struggle. 60 minutes of fight just isn't enough with the thin squad they have. The Macron kicking game is not up to standard. Jackson Hastings showed his true colours in this game, blending into a team and getting frustrated made him a bit mouthy. Do you know what, everyone? He was mouthy as fuck last year. It's just you didn't hate him because he played for Salford. But, fair enough. It really was the Bevan French versus Toronto game in reality. I hope O'Loughlin is okay after that terrible tackle that surely could end his career. Well, he's potentially out for up to 4 weeks. Obviously, a scratch on the eyeball isn't a good injury at all, Josh. You're right.
No. Cav says, I enjoyed this one. Wigan took Toronto too lightly. I expected to win without trying and got a shock for the first hour. Then they started to play as we all expected them to, and they were too much for a Toronto team. They lost 1 in the warm-up and 2 during the game. Wigan looked grand final bound. That's an early call in round 3. Zach wasted at centre, as all Yorkshiremen say, and women. But French is better, so it makes perfect sense for Wigan. Shame for the national team, though. Jacko's settling in well.
Cav makes a great, actually shows that point really well, doesn't he? About basically everyone who's a Leeds fan or a Castleford fan sat watching Hardacre in the centres and thinking, oh God, he's wasted there. That's, it's not his best position. And I think we all know it's not his best position. But then every time French is touching the ball, you can see why we're going to go in with French at fullback.
Yeah, completely.
So I think Cavs really kind of touched on it well there. Lee Whitnall said, Toronto's brave swashbuckling style was fun to watch and at times they looked dangerous, but ultimately their lack of